crew of super yacht Bayesian are being grilled by investigators about whether they warned passengers the boat was sinking before escaping the yacht themselves. Prosecutors confirm they have launched an initial probe into culpable shipwreck and manslaughter against unknown persons after the vessel capsized off the coast of Italy. Speaking at a press briefing at the Termini Imerese courthouse today, Chief Prosecutor Ambrogio Cartosio said there may have been behaviours which were not perfectly in order with regard to the responsibility everyone had. He added, "I'd like to officially communicate with you that the prosecutor has hypothesised that there could in fact be the question of homicide. But this is the beginning of the inquiry. We cannot exclude anything at all." Mr. Cartosio stressed that it will be necessary to determine who is potentially responsible before any charges are brought. Investigators said one particular line of inquiry is whether the crew of the 184-foot yacht raised the alarm about the yacht being in difficulty before getting on a life raft and escaping themselves. They said Captain James Cutfield, who has already been grilled for more than 2 hours by prosecutors earlier this week, has been extremely cooperative so far but will need to face further questions. Officials said the vessel's crew have not been tested for drug or alcohol use, as rescue workers were prioritising treating their injuries at the time. However, they noted that all 15 of the survivors are now free to leave Sicily as there is no legal requirement for them to stay in the country. Canadian Antiguan national Ricardo Thomas, who was working as a chef on the super yacht, is the only member of the 10-strong crew not to have survived the tragedy. His body was recovered by rescue workers shortly after the boat capsized around 4 a.m. on Monday morning. Serious questions have been raised about whether the captain should have been better prepared for the adverse weather conditions which caused the vessel to plunge 164 foot beneath the surface of the water. Lead prosecutor in the case, Raffaele Camerano, said the Italian Air Force determined that the boat was sunk by a downburst, a localised powerful wind which descends from a thunderstorm and spreads rapidly. He said there were forecasts of strong winds and a storm alert but good visibility and no suggestion of a tornado. He added, "Given that the conditions were such, there wasn't anything to suggest there could be an extreme situation like this. There are vessels that can monitor, after all, these events, and one would have thought that the captain had taken precautions." Mr. Camerano confirmed that there was one person on watch in the cockpit at the time of the incident. The Bayesian sunk stern first and rolled onto its right side, according to Bentivoglio Fiandra, chief of Palermo's fire brigade and part of the diver rescue team. 15 of the 22 people on board the boat, including Lynch's wife Angela Baccares, were able to escape to a life raft. Mr. Fiandra said those that died were trying to hide in the cabins on the left-hand side, as this is where the last air pockets were. Divers found the bodies of tech tycoon Mike Lynch, Morgan Stanley International Chief Jonathan Bloomer and his wife Judy, and Clifford Chance lawyer Christopher Morvillo and his wife Nida in the first cabin. Tragically, the body of Lynch's 18-year-old daughter Hannah was discovered alone in the third cabin on the left-hand side. She was the last to be recovered by specialist divers on Friday. Prosecutors believe the victims may have been asleep when the freak weather struck, leaving them unable to escape in time. They would not confirm theories that the yacht's hatches or its windows may have been left open. They said they will only be able to fully investigate what caused the boat to sink when it is raised from the seabed. Palermo Coast Guard Deputy Commander Rafael Macauda said that the yacht's owner has expressed a desire to resurface the vessel and will bear the full cost of this. Specialised companies will first be called in to remove the fuel tanks to prevent environmental damage. Officials were unable to confirm the timeframe for the salvage operation, but shipwreck salvage expert Bertrand Skiboz told The Sun that it could take weeks or months to recover the doomed super yacht. Chief Prosecutor Mr. Cartosio said today that the disaster was a very grave tragedy. He offered his most heartfelt thanks to the divers and the rescue teams for their extraordinary effort. It was also revealed that some of the highly trained divers were involved in the rescue operation of the Costa Concordia cruise liner in 2012. Giuseppe Frison, head of the Department of Firefighters Divers, said the Bayesian mission was actually more intense because the dives were deeper. He said it brought back some memories, adding, "Inside the cabin, it revived the same sensations, but in terms of scale, everything was very different. Plus, this dive was so much deeper, so we had to severely restrict our time at depth." He said, "It felt a little like rerunning the movie in our heads, but it was more intense. Although the scene was very similar, it was like visiting someone's house turned at 90 degrees with everything on its side." Vincenzo Nardoni, inspector at the Department of Firefighters Divers in Naples, said it was a very confusing place inside the yacht, with wardrobes and furniture whirling all around them and lots of mirrors reflecting their lights back at them. He said the bodies were all wedged in tight spots with furniture on top of them or beside them. Tributes flooded in to those who perished on the Bayesian over the last week. On Friday, a statement on behalf of the Lynch family said they were devastated and in shock. They added, "Their thoughts are with everyone affected by the tragedy. They would like to sincerely thank the Italian Coast Guard, emergency services and all those who helped in the rescue."